Welcome back to the series. In this video, we're talking about a topic that's both practical and sensitive: termination management. This refers to the way businesses handle the end of the employment relationship when someone leaves the workplace. Now, termination can happen for a number of reasons, and how it's managed matters, not just for the person leaving, but also for the morale and productivity of those who remain. When done well, it protects the business's reputation, ensures compliance with workplace laws, and creates a more respectful workplace culture. In this video, we'll walk through the four main types of termination: retirement, resignation, redundancy, and dismissal. We'll also look at the entitlements and transition issues that come with each. 1. Retirement. Let's start with retirement, which is probably the most straightforward of the four. Retirement happens when an employee decides to permanently leave the workforce, often after reaching a certain age or personal milestone. This is usually a planned and voluntary process. The employee might give several months' notice, allowing time for a proper handover and farewell. Some businesses even offer support to help the employee ease into retirement, things like financial planning advice, or the option to work part-time in the lead-up to their departure. In terms of legal obligations, the employer must make sure the employee receives any unpaid leave and their superannuation contributions are properly finalized. Transition support is also important, especially for long-serving staff, because losing their routine and identity tied to the workplace can be a big change. 2. Resignation. The next form of termination is resignation, where an employee decides to leave the business, usually to take another job, travel, study, or for personal reasons. Like retirement, this is initiated by the employee, but it can happen with far less notice. Most contracts require a set notice period, commonly 2 to 4 weeks, and the employee is usually entitled to their final pay, along with any unused annual leave. From the business's perspective, it's useful to hold an exit interview to understand why the employee is leaving, and whether anything could be improved internally. Planning for their replacement, managing workload during the transition, and maintaining team morale are all important considerations. 3. Redundancy. Redundancy is a bit different. This is when the role itself is no longer required, rather than the employee doing something wrong. It often occurs during restructures, downsizing, or when new technology makes a job obsolete. Redundancies can be voluntary, where the employee chooses to leave after being offered a redundancy package, or involuntary, where the business decides the role is no longer needed. Either way, there are strict legal requirements around notice periods, redundancy payments, and the way the process is communicated. Support here is key. Some businesses help redundant employees by offering resume writing assistance, job search support, or even outplacement services. Helping staff land on their feet not only protects the business's reputation but also reassures those who remain that they are working for an ethical employer. 4. Dismissal. Finally, there's dismissal, where the business ends the employment due to the employee's behavior or performance. This is a serious step, and it must be handled fairly and lawfully. There are 2 types of dismissal to understand. The first is summary dismissal, which is immediate termination due to serious misconduct, such as theft, violence, or breaches of safety. In these cases, no notice is required. The second type is dismissal on notice, which is more common. This occurs when an employee fails to meet expectations over time, perhaps through poor performance or repeated breaches of policy. In this situation, the employee must be given fair warning and an opportunity to improve. If that doesn't happen, the business could face an unfair dismissal claim. Even in dismissal, the employee is still entitled to any unpaid wages and leave entitlements. It's important that documentation is clear, and the process follows the principles of natural justice, including communication, evidence, and a right of response. So, to bring it all together, termination can take many forms. Retirement and resignation are typically voluntary and initiated by the employee. Redundancy arises from organizational change, not employee fault. And dismissal is the employer's decision to end employment due to behavior or performance. Each situation comes with entitlement obligations, like paying out leave and providing notice, as well as transition issues, such as managing morale, supporting staff, and maintaining operational continuity. Handled properly, termination can be respectful and well managed. Done poorly, it can cause disruption, harm culture, and even lead to legal trouble. That's why good HR practices matter, not just in hiring, but right through to the end of the employee lifecycle. Thanks for sticking with me in this important video. If you'd like to review what we've covered, you'll find study notes and practice questions in the description below. In the next video, we'll move into the roles of workplace participants, including human resource managers, employer associations, unions, and the Fair Work Commission. So stay tuned, and I'll see you there.